federal government of Nigeria has expressed that its plan to achieve a $1 trillion economy by 2030 through implementing reforms and initiatives is a realizable feat. The government also assured that by the time President Bola Ahmed Tinubu completes the first 4 years, Nigerians will be better off for it because the renewed hope agenda is cruising well. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, stated this in an interview with journalists after 2 separate economic meetings hosted by the Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, with key political actors in the government of the All Progressives Congress. Also, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has stated that the economy has begun to stabilize as the country recorded a trade surplus of over $4 billion. Joining us on the show to discuss federal government's quest for $1 trillion economy and the finance minister's announcement that Nigeria has made more revenue in recent times is Ayo Teriba, an economist. Good morning, Mr. Teriba, and good to have you on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr.
Dr. Teriba, good to see you again.
Morning, Rufai.
Morning, sir. Morning, show. You haven't abandoned us on this day live, but it's good to see that you remain a member of the family. Now, let's start with this talk about the economy is stable, that, we have stability in the economy. Mr. Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance, says, well, trade surplus is a good evidence. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, while in the country last week, said, well, the economy is stable, the reforms are working, but we need social safety nets. And the poser is, well, how stable is this economy? Even if we have trade surplus, even if the reforms are working, what then explains the hardship, the corrosive hardship that Nigerians have to face on a daily basis? Or an economy can be stable and the people can suffer. And the people read about stability, trade surplus, only as statistical information, not as a fact of their lives.
Right. Well, thank you very much, for the opportunity. The government is making every effort to give us a mid-year update on the economy. That was what the coordinating minister of the economy had done. Very close to, those conversations, mid-term conversations, and it was good that the DG of the WTO, who had visited, been here for a conference, also weighed in and acknowledged, the stability, after the reforms that were initiated 2 years ago. And that, of course, we now look forward to consolidating growth and protecting, the vulnerable. It's hard not to accept, that compared to a year ago, the economy is stabilizing. We have broken the trend of, acceleration of inflation. And since January, inflation has been decelerating and, underpinned by a stable exchange rate, improving net reserves, and GDP growth that is better now than any time in the previous 2 years. So we hope that that trend will continue, particularly the deceleration of inflation that has now been entrenched for 7 months. It's only 1 month in March that we saw a deviation from that downward trend. So let's hope that that trend continues and, by the end of the year, now, notably, inflation is less than the current regime met it, just slightly lower than the 22% that they met it. So which means that after the surgery and the worsening of the stability indicators, we are now at least back to the pre-surgery, price level. So let's hope that by December, we'll be closer to the 15% that, was being, touted last December, I think Christmas Eve, when we.
But the thrust of my question was how do you measure it in terms of social impact? in terms of effect on the people?
Okay, some indications of the stability is that if you look at the corporate sector, especially the banks, but not just the banks, you see the insurance companies, the corporate sector are back on the bounce. If you extend it to sectors that also benefited from the cost-reflective reforms, which we call subsidy removal, whether in refining, the Dangote refinery is on the bounce, offering the populace reduced prices perennially. The telecom companies, after their 50%, tariff hike, are back on the bounce. They were in crisis a year or two ago. The telecoms company, the power, the Gencos, the Discos, if the government could also resolve the arrears, that is being discussed. And now, the health of these companies is to the benefit of Nigerians. The more, they are the ones that employ. And they are the ones that also, give business to SMEs, micro companies to do, either as suppliers or as distributors. Right. So somehow the evidence is building, that the economy is thriving. And if you also look at what the states are doing, the kind of projects commissioned, the transport terminals commissioned in Enugu last week, Kaduna, the CNG buses. Yes. Kaduna did, something similar a month ago, and I thought Imo, and Anambra, and a few of the states are also doing things that are lifting, the economic well-being of the people, and they all reference the benefit of the reforms.
Mr. Teriba, thank you. You use the word the economy is thriving. Maybe stable is more the word, just like the words of the WTO DG had mentioned. But she said there was still next steps to take, which is for the economy to then grow. Maybe that's when we can now start talking about economy thriving. And in order to do this, she mentioned that the effect of these bold reforms by the administration has been credited to a stable economy must be, there must be cushions for the people. What would you recommend? We've given a lot of recommendations with regards to how there must be safety nets provided for the people, but that hasn't been done. What must this administration do in order to achieve the growth that is the next level of this stable economy that has been touted, has been talked about a number of times, and what are some of the key things that must be done in the immediate to alleviate the sufferings of the people?
Okay, it may not be entirely correct to say that steps have not been taken to alleviate the suffering of the people.
Well, it's not working. At least in terms of we haven't seen the benefit to the Nigerian people. You can do a poll right now. How many people are suffering and the level of hardship compared to previous administrations?
Yeah, let's just take stock. Mind you, we are talking about an administration that took over 2 years ago. 2 years in the reckoning, of policy reforms and economic transition is at best considered short term. Immediate will be like less than 1 year. Short term will be up to 2 years. Beyond 2 years when you're talking midterm, and you can reap stability benefits in the short term, and we have. Now, growth and transformation benefits, you will be too much in a hurry, if you wanted to see all of that manifest within 2 years. So I think we should moderate our expectations in that regard. But for a government that has been criticized by its opposition as running a palliative economy, you cannot say they have not taken steps to cushion the suffering of the populace. They are talking of what they've done for agriculture, farmers, whether for farmers or to ensure that the populace get access to food.
Has it been effective?
Effectiveness is one thing, policies. You are talking about if we, for those of you that are football enthusiasts, number of shots, is different from shots on target. It's different from goals. So let's get it clear. You are saying what government has done. They've done a long list of things, including CNG, CNG policies, including the students' loan, and so they've done things. Then how effect? Then a lot of World Bank money that has been distributed.
Okay, let me correct something. So what government has announced is different from what they have done. All of those talk is just merely announcements.
Student loan?
No, hang on a minute.
CNG buses?
No, student loan have been done.
Trucks,
CNG buses,
grains,
not effectively,
fertilizers,
not effectively implemented.
Right.
Fertilizers release of the National Grain Reserve. In fact, the other day, somebody countered that by saying Nigeria does not even have those capacity of what they want to release in the Grain Reserve. The promises of palliative cushioning to companies, a lot of things have been left undone. So what they announce, headline, is different from done. And that is what is happening as we speak today. CNG adoption rates that they announced that we're going to do, it's not full on. I drive a CNG car. You need to travel miles to be able to even get the CNG to buy itself. So, I mean, that's not full on. Let's deal with the facts of what's not headlines.
Yes.
Economy is stabilizing, but capital importation is not good. Capital importation numbers the other day were so low, only probably Lagos, Abuja. Is it that the Western community or the investor community are not seeing that the economy is stabilized? That's why they're bringing capital importation to Nigeria. The government said that in the next 5 years, they are looking at a 1 trillion GDP. Norenberger, last week I gave out some data. Norenberger came out and said the economy needs to grow over 20% before you can have that over 1 trillion economy in 5 years. Then we are racking up a lot of debts. The argument was that when we remove subsidy, that we'll be able to take less debt so that we'll be able to use the money that we're paying in subsidy to be able to do other things. Thirdly, you argued about inflation. Inflation is going on headline. Go and check month-on-month inflation numbers. Those things are still rising in terms of food. So what is really stabilizing all of this? That's why you're seeing the hardship. And the inflation only precipitously did fall because they changed the parameters of calculating the inflation numbers.
Okay, you've raised 3 issues.
Yes, sir.
Capital importation, and that I would like to address. The second one, the $1 trillion economy, and what growth we did to achieve that, I'd like to address. And thirdly, the inflation, maybe we should just dismiss that quickly. We had 20 months of consecutive increases, consecutive acceleration in inflation up to December last year. And it's been replaced by 7 months of, of deceleration. Yeah, broken only in March. Otherwise, it have said 6 of the 7 months have been downward. Now, let's not sound as if we do not want methodological updates, as if the rebasing should not have been done. Countries do it every 5 years. Nigeria did that rebasing after 15 years. So let's not imply that we didn't want rebasing to be. And when you do rebase, the weights in the consumption basket change. And in this case, notably, the two outcomes of the rebasing is that food weights are smaller and energy weights are smaller. And the energy one is logical. There's a global energy transition. We're talking CNG, we're talking solar. So it shifts the weight from expensive or dear petroleum products into cheaper renewables. But let's deal with the capital importation, which is very important. Now, Nigeria, and those are areas where we now need to encourage the government to take steps. For 2 years, they've spoken about investment, foreign direct investment. And for 2 years, it's been in rhetoric. We've not seen the action. The Nigerian government we shouldn't be waiting for FDI to arrive because FDI is not arriving. It's been promised, but it's not arriving. For FDI to arrive, you need to open the sectors where the FDI would arrive at. Because the sectors with the biggest absorptive capacity for FDI are public assets in infrastructure. We are trying to do a lot of roads and rail, but we don't have the money. There's not enough money in the budget to do that. We are trying to do power transmission. We don't have the money. We are trying to do airport terminals. We don't have the money. These are billions of dollars projects that FDI can fund. The way they have funded LNG, or are still funding LNG, the way they are funding the GSM network. So let's encourage the government to put the list on the table. Which transmission project do you want investors to take? Which rail projects, which road projects? You shouldn't be borrowing money to fund those mega projects. You should be using equity. I will leave it there. When you do that, it will accelerate the growth.
Like these are our airports. That
then the final point about the $1 trillion economy, let me take that.
Yes, sir.
So the journey to $1 trillion GDP in Nigeria, it's not a growth story. Don't make that mistake. It's because the rebased GDP was 205 trillion in 2019, that date of rebasing. And at that day, the exchange rate was 305. That gives you an economy that was more than 700 billion. But, well, it had grown to 370 by 2024. But the exchange rate has moved to 15. And that's why it's 225. If the exchange rate remained at 305, you have 1.2 trillion economy already. So the journey to 2030 is not going to be different. Don't try and be looking for 20% growth or 7% growth. It's an exchange rate story. And it goes back to this importation of foreign investment.
No, just quickly. Nuremberg said over 20% growth for the next 5 years at the rate of 1,200 exchange rate. Do you see that coming to 1,200 exchange rate anytime soon?
That's a question of how much FDI arrives. Can go to
Where's the FDI?
That's the question.
Okay,
Which
so many
sectors is
questions.
government offering to investors?
Thank you so
You've
much.
offered telecoms, you've offered LNG. Are you offering rail? Are you offering the roads? Are you offering the power transmission?
All right.
If you don't, nothing is going to happen. Exchange rate might worsen. If you do, you might well be there in 2 years.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Teriba. I think this has been a rich conversation and just opened up our minds in terms of stability, growth, and also some of the things that must be done to achieve either of the two. We look forward to seeing you again on the show. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.